Okay. We're waiting to go live.
Jess, can you turn that so you can see Mr. Penn a little bit?
All right. All right. May I have a motion that we only discuss those 4 items we went into closed session under? One item under Virginia Code 2.2-3711A1, discussion of prospective candidates for appointments. 2 items under Virginia Code 2.2-3711A6, discussion of investment of public funds. And 1 item under Virginia Code 2.2-3711A7, consultation with legal counsel.
Moved. Second.
And may I have a roll call for that, please, ma'am?
Mr. Penn,
Yes.
Mr. Dawson,
Aye.
Mr. East,
Aye.
Mr. Ratliff,
Aye.
Mr. Klontz,
Aye.
Mr. Reese.
Abstain.
All right, so we'll start out with the Pledge of Allegiance led by Councilman Dawson and the invocation by Councilman East, please.
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If you'd like to join us in prayer, please bow your head at this time. Dear Lord, we thank you for your many blessings and ask that you would guide us in all matters. Please grant us wisdom this evening as we conduct the business of our town, and may our actions serve to honor you. In your name we pray. Amen.
All right, first I'd like to welcome all of our guests here and online tonight. Thank you for coming out. I like to see people in council. It means you care. I really feel that way, so thank you for coming out. Are there any modifications to public session?
Yes, sir. I would like you all to put on the agenda Resolution 2022-44, the resolution, a line of credit to fund the ARS homes until sold.
And where would you like me to put that? Where would you like it, darling?
It would come after the public comment period.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to add Resolution 2022-44 to 11A on the agenda.
Second.
And may I have a roll call, please?
Mr. Penn,
Yes.
Mr. Dawson,
Aye.
Mr. East,
Aye.
Mr. Ratliff,
Aye.
Mr. Klontz,
Aye.
Mr. Reese.
Aye.
Okay, so we'll start with the presentations. Our first presentation is Monica Music with the Pulaski Area Transit, please. How are you today?
Good, how are y'all? So you said you noticed there was a room full of people, so tonight we have both riders and drivers that are joining us tonight. So I just want to start by starting off the afternoon with telling how we finished up the end of our 2022 year, which our year ended September 30th. So we ended up providing 27,366 one-way trips and drove a total of 221,948 miles. Of those total one-way trips, 79% of those were provided to town residents, or 21,529 one-way trips. During the year, we had no major accidents thanks to our dependable, caring, and cautious drivers. However, we did end up our year at a deficit of $60,715. Most of that is due to the increase of fuel cost, insurance, radio communications, and maintenance on vehicles, and a lot of that being the cost of tires. So at this time, this is the third time in Pat's history that this has occurred. So at this time, we'll be getting with DRPT and asking them for assistance on this additional funds that we were at a deficit. So when DRPT has extra funds, when other transit agencies had monies left over, and they have to then turn that back into DRPT. So we've already been in talks with DRPT, and they feel like they'll be able to assist us with that. As you know, ridership continues to be down across Virginia, and the DRPT continues to help us come up with creative ways to promote transit. I also feel like ridership can be down due to the economy, the cost increases, and COVID is still a talk. So I think that could also present still riders to not coming back out, especially if they have health issues. But again, we're going to keep on working on getting that out. DRPT is still helping us create different ads that we can post. I got with Amy at the senior center today, so very soon we're going to be putting something in that newsletter. I want to look and see if we can put something in town utility bills again, and also see if we can print something and put in the PSA bills, just to try to promote transit in different ways, more creative ways, just to try to help ridership in general. This week and next week, the PAT staff is looking at riderships and seeing, like at each bus stop, how many riders are riding throughout the day and what times of the day that will be that they're riding the most. And so every 8 to 10 years, there has to be a TDP done, and that is a transit development plan. And in the near future, PAT will be up for that. And so in talking with DRPT, they suggested a microtransit system should be added to our TDP when it's due in the future. And the TDP shows what we would be looking at doing over the next 8 to 10 years. You know, whether we try to do route expansions, change stuff, just so that they know where they'll be spending their monies at. So, and talking about the microtransit, I've talked with DRPT, and we've talked also with Darlene about microtransit, just to try to get a better understanding of what microtransit is. Sorry. Am I too close to it? So currently, after talking with DRPT, last year, DRPT chose 2 transit agencies in Virginia to try microtransit as a pilot program. They chose Bay Aging and MEOC. And I've talked with both of those transit agencies, and that seems to be very successful for them. So moving forward, DRPT is thinking about opening grant cycles up for microtransit. And so what microtransit is, the way I understand it, is it's kind of like Uber and Lyft, but not exactly like that. So what passengers would do when they want to ride is they would have an app on their smartphone, or if they don't have a smartphone, there could be a portal somewhere, like at the hospital or the senior center, or they could call the dispatch office and schedule a trip, so that you would put in your app where you wanted to be picked up at. You wouldn't necessarily get picked up right at your home. You might have to walk down the road a little bit, be picked up at the end of your driveway, is what I've heard from the other 2 agencies that have their pilot program right now. But then once you have your trip scheduled, then it'll show you, kind of like if you've used Uber before, it'll show you the driver's picture, your vehicle number, the license tag, and you can watch on your smartphone when your driver would show up. And again, that's still in the very early stages, but that's how I understand how that is. So if this is something that the council feels like would be beneficial or something you want to look into in the town, we can do that. So I asked further questions about what that would entail. So what would happen was, when the grant cycle opens up December 1st, and the grant would be due February 1st, the first thing we would have to do is apply for a technical assistant grant. And what that grant would do, that would start the study, would do the scope of the work. And DRPT said what they have saw from the other 2 pilot programs is that the scope of the work usually takes 6 to 8 months. And then that would involve the public hearings and the public involvement, just like we've done in the past when we've done route changes. And then after that would be done, and if the scope of the work looks like it would be beneficial in the town, Then the following grant cycle, we would apply for the microtransit grant, which wouldn't be, grant would open up December of '24, which means that wouldn't get started until 2025. And then if we were approved for that, then it still would take another 6 months to get that completely up and going. Because they said there's the equipment, the training, so there's still the start of the operations that would still take some time to get going. So if you all feel that that's something that you would be interested in me applying for, I did ask some questions to get a roundabout idea. With the technical assistant grant, that would be a 50-50 match. And DRPT said from what they have saw with the 2 pilot programs, it can be between $70,000 and $75,000 to get the consultants hired. And then the 50% would be local match, but they also indicated there may be some additional funding at DRPT that we could apply for to help offset that match money also. And then if we did start the microtransit grant and were approved for that, that's a 80-20 match. So if we look at doing this, that would just be another change. And as you all know, over the past couple years, we've had several changes. This would just be another change that we would promote and just get the word out and help people understand. We would have to do travel training to help people understand how to use the apps. We could help them download the apps. But again, that's just what I've learned over the past few weeks trying to find out from the other 2 pilot programs how it's working. Another thing I want to talk about this evening is replacement vehicles. And over the last month, we found out that, as you all know, cost of everything has went up, but the cost of our BOC vans have went up $60,000. So we've never, in Pat's history, have asked for match money for replacement vehicles, because what we normally do is we sell our vehicles and then our finance director sets the money aside for matched vehicles. So recently I had a DRPT audit, and we realized that now when we sell vehicles, anything that over $5,000 has to be reimbursed back to FTA where the vehicles come from. So now we are only able to keep just $5,000 from each vehicle sold. Sometimes we sell vehicles for more. Sometimes we barely get $3,000 for it. So that just varies. So my last replacement vehicle that we received was $70,340, and the new prices for vehicles is $127,690. So for 20 and 23 both, we were awarded new replacement vehicles, but after looking at what we have on hand, we've declined to get new vehicles right now until we regroup and think about all the changes, unfortunately. So like when vehicles were $70,000, the match money was about $3,500, and with vehicles being right at $128,000, we're looking at the match money for a vehicle would be around $6,400. So I know I've thrown a lot of information out there to y'all tonight. Do you have any questions before I get into our grant cycle?
Actually, I do. You had mentioned the number of riders as being, I think you said 21,000. Is that correct? I'm sorry, that last exercise, my pen disappeared, so it took me a while.
It's 21,529.
Those are the town riders or the total riders?
That was the town riders.
So the riders, as I understand it, when you count them, it could be the same person riding multiple routes.
Correct, because with DRPT, every person that gets on is counted as, every time somebody boards, they're counted on. So like if you went to the grocery store and then to the hospital and then somewhere else, then each time you got on, that would be 3 trips, three one-ways.
So, and that was an annual figure. Is that?
Yes, that was our year-to-date, yes.
Okay. And I realized that, and so here's my concern. So I'm glad to hear you mention the micro program. Here's my concern: 21,000 riders. What was your total budget, as I recall, for
666.
666? We'll go with 667 just to kind of get rid of that 666.
Right.
But so if you go with 667 and you just do the math on that, the cost per rider is ridiculous. And I don't mean this as a reflection on anybody, but I do think it shows that a complete rethink of Pat is probably a really good idea.
Right.
Because justifying those kind of costs, and I don't know if anybody, you can maybe do the math or something. It's gotta be upwards of, what, $50, $75 a person? That every person that steps on that bus, per ride, yes, and not per year, per ride. And that's being funded by the taxpayers. And I grant it, if you break that number down just to the town and the county contribution, which is, I think, somewhere around 120-ish, it's still a significant number. So I'm glad to see that you guys are exploring other avenues, because I think long-term, that's hard to justify. I know that I see the Pat trucks driving around town, and, I understand, and most of them are empty. No fault of the drivers, obviously, but it's certainly a problem with the structure of the business, if you will. And so I just wanted to point that out. But I am glad that you're looking at other alternatives. The goal for me, when I look at this and going forward with funding, is going to be that our citizens and our taxpayers are getting the best for their money, best for their contribution, and that we're serving as many people in the town and county as possible. But this number, really, if you look at that 21,000, it could very easily be, you get one person count it 3 or 4 times as he rides around, he or she. That number could really be 6,000 or 8,000 people. And if you do that as a percentage of the community, the number of people in the community, that money is going to a very small percentage of the residents of Pulaski and the county.
Also, I want you all to know that I've been working close with DRPT to see what we can do before it, if we start this process, what we can do. And unfortunately, there's nothing that we can do without having the whole route system study again and again. So that would be no different than us starting the technical assistant grant to try to start with the microtransit. And they also advised me that they wouldn't recommend us trying to implement something else right now and start that process due to all the changes that we've done over the past few years. So they just encourage is to try to promote. So that's why I want to put it in the in the utility bills for both the town and the county. But I think also it's probably been a good 6-7 months since we posted flyers, and just to come up with a new creative flyer that's more eye-catching to try to get riders to, just to get the word out there to try to help them see that we're still out here, and just give it a, before we just did a flyer that just had the expansion routes on it. So DRPT has been working, and I just saw one from Farmville yesterday that they had a nice picture of the vehicle with a passenger getting on, and then a nice write-up about it. So I think if we do that, we can put flyers up like that, put something in the papers again, just put on our Facebook, and I think that we just need to try to put something out there every month to continue to try to get riderships up.
And I'll go back and I don't know all the ins and outs of it, but I will say that, and I don't mean any disrespect to the plan, but just because you have a business, it doesn't mean people necessarily need that service, right? So you can reach out to the community and make sure everybody, knows that that's available. But is there really a need? Maybe if more people were aware, more people would ride it. But then again, if you quadruple that number to where you're at 85,000 riders, the numbers still look horrible from a cost per ride. And I know at one time years ago, that number was down to a few bucks, $3 to $4 a rider.
Right.
It's been years ago.
Right,
But-
and that's,
but
I think that's when it was the demand response and we were going to everybody's house and taking them directly where they,
Right, but it's all about service. And I'll say one last thing and then I'll shut up. The part that, the cost associated with this program is largely due, I would imagine, well, I think you said it, it's largely due to fuel costs at this point. But also maintenance, or $60,000-$70,000 vehicles. I think you guys have 10 or 11, maybe 12 of
we
them.
had 11.
And so they're riding constantly, empty, otherwise burning gas. And I travel a lot with my job in a car, and I can run through $100 in a day, easy. So I can't imagine what those vans, what those buses use. I'm sure it's significantly less.
Right, and that's some of the reason that we want to do the analysis to see about the riders and what times of the day they're riding and what days of the week, just to see if there's some kind of adjustments that we need to make on that. Because I think I can make some kind of adjustments like that if we see that there is a need, like a certain time of the day if there's not people riding on a regular basis.
Well, and I think the beauty, and I said I would shut up, but I think the beauty of the demand service is that van doesn't have to move. You don't even have to start it until you're going to get a rider.
Right, and with the microtransit, that's how that would be.
Monica, I have one question. And what did you say the price of one of those vehicles would be?
The new price? The new price would be,
I think you said 127,000.
That's what I thought, okay.
Yeah.
And that's up from what?
from 70,000, 7340. Yeah, I had to double look at that when they told me that that's what they were sending me.
Yeah.
And not only that, then there's a backlog. And it's my understanding that from transit agencies across Virginia, most people are declining their vehicles right now just because the cost increase. I think they had to find a new vendor because the one vendor was on back order for 2 or 3 years. So I guess the new company that they found is just,
How many do you anticipate buying? Or will need to buy, put it like that?
so I think make 3 at least, because we just declined a couple. We have one vehicle that's a 2015, and then we have a couple of 17. So, yeah.
How many miles a year do you usually put on one of those vans? I mean, I know there's not a usual, but
Right. Well, I just have the that year-to-date mileage right off. I could send it to you. I could.
oh no, I was just curious.
Yeah. So we just do that. The 221,984 was the total miles for last year for all 11 vehicles.
Okay, so
And we have 11 vehicles.
about 20,000 miles a vehicle a year.
Yeah, I don't do math good at math.
Okay. I think that math is right. I think that math is right. The other question I had about the microtransit, it said there's an app. I'm assuming that there's some sort of app provider that DPRT. So you don't have to do any of the back end of like IT support or anything. It's just a vendor.
Yeah, so it's just a vendor from the best I've understood. And then there's the software that you would have to have for the dispatch office, and I think the monthly fee. But again, until we go forward with that, and then we're looking at who our app would be from, I wouldn't really.
So basically, you'd apply in the next couple of months. You'd get the grant for the scope of work. You'd do that over the next 6 to 8 months after that. And then maybe, so you were thinking it's not 23, but 24 before you could apply for the full.
Yes, because I did question, like if we got through the scope of the work in a less amount of time, would we then be able to
Right.
apply outside the grant cycle? And they told me that they don't let people apply outside the grant cycle now anymore. And that she also said that it would be so close to that next grant cycle that we would have to wait. So it would be like this time next year when I would get ready to apply for that.
Okay. All right. And is there anything, well, I mean, I guess you can't, so they told you that based on the funding, you can't be changing anything between now and whenever you get approved for that.
Not without going through a whole, not to go through that whole process again. You would have to have consultants and
Right,
so you
yeah,
would still have to.
okay.
So then if we did that, we would kind of technically be doing two at the same time if we were trying to change something short term to change something again down the road.
Understood.
But Monica, I thought I heard you say you are going to be looking at possible adjustments to the schedule that would allow you to not run as frequently, but run when you actually have passengers.
Right,
So
and-
those kind of changes.
A little bit,
occur
yeah.
In the interim, even
Right.
as this study and other things were going on.
Right, but not, because they said that's, DRPT said that's not a major route change, it's just some minor changes. She did indicate to me that concerns her too if we do that, because she said then that could hurt ridership also. So, but we're just gonna get all of our stuff gathered up and look at it and get with DRPT and then we'll talk with you all too, just to get some input.
But if the study was done in 6 months as opposed to 8 months, is it possible that you could hit the next funding cycle and not have to wait another year?
She told me no, but she said it would have to be, she said DRPT is not letting people apply outside the grant period anymore. She said they keep everybody to apply during their grant period, which opens December 1st and it's due February 1st.
Right, but if we got the planning grant, and you said that took 6 to 8 months, might we not be able to hit a December date the following year, that year?
Yes, which would be this time next year, yes.
So you'd be a year ahead of what was set.
But then but service still wouldn't start until that 25.
Fiscal year 25, meaning which starts in 24. Okay.
You may have said this, but I and missed it, but on the on-demand cycle or the micro transit concept, do they use a different vehicle, smaller vehicles, vans, anything of that nature? And
So the two pilot programs, I did ask that. The two pilot programs, they both had CDL drivers. So they were able to downsize to a body on chassis, so that's what we use now. If we looked at it downsizing, I don't think that would be very beneficial due to the fact that if you have a minivan that's also accessible, you can only haul 3 passengers at one time plus one in a wheelchair. But right now, we can haul up to 11 on our vehicles right now. And if we use our vehicles that we have now, then there's not that extra cost of having a vehicle. So both of the pilot programs said that they already used body on chassis in their route with their bigger vehicles also. So they were able, that neither one of them purchased new vehicles either. They just used vehicles that were already in their fleet.
So when you say body on, that's the
Just the-
buses we already have instead of like an actual full size
Right.
transit bus
Right.
like you'd see in the city.
Right. Our drivers just have to have a regular driver's license and not.
Not a CDL.
Yeah.
Okay. How many drivers do you have?
We have 15.
15. They all live in town?
Most of them. Some of them don't. So I have just a little bit more presentation if you all don't have any more questions right now. So as I said, the grant cycle opens up December 1st for our FY24. And we're looking at our budget at $741,092. And again, the increase is based up just the fuel, the insurance, the radio communication, and just general maintenance on the vehicles. So at this time, I would just ask permission from the council to request that in the grant, $7,441 and, I'm sorry, $741.92. Well, my numbers are running together. I do apologize. For the grant that's due on February 1st, and ask that the town commit to a local match of $70,000 in FY24. Also in 24, I would like to request 3 replacement vehicles, and this also has to be done in this grant period, since we've not had new vehicles in several years. So if we were approved in that grant cycle for 3 new vehicles, then we would sell 3 of our older vehicles in our fleet, and we sell those on Gov Deals. And what we would hope is that we would be able to sell those for $5,000 each, which would leave only match money of $4,200. But at that time, if we chose to accept all 3 of those replacement vehicles, we would also need to ask permission and get local match from council also. That doesn't mean if we're awarded 3 vehicles that we have to accept them all. So after the award comes out, then that would be something that I would need to come back and talk to you about after we find out what we've been awarded.
So the 7,600 was for the replacement vehicles.
Right, so
It's the match.
per vehicle.
Okay, I thought I understood you to say you had decided not to pursue new vehicles at this time.
So not for FY '22 and '23.
Okay.
So this would be for-
This is for 24.
Right.
Okay.
Right. And I know my presentation's long tonight, and I'm sorry. I'm
no,
just
you're
trying to
fine.
make sure I can give you all the information that I have.
What is your, just curious, what is the criteria for replacement?
4 years and 100,000 miles. And it used to be and/or, but now it has to be both. So,
Why
and
do they only sell for $5,000 if if you're,
That's all they get to keep.
oh, you get to keep?
The
Okay.
rest of it goes back, yeah.
Right.
Okay.
So like if-
I was
yeah.
wondering when I could buy one of these.
so we might, so in the past, we've sold vans up $10,000. But now, and so we would always have that for match money, and then if one didn't sell, or, if, one needed lots of work that didn't sell good, we would always have that match money, but, so if we're counting on, and it's on, like I said, we put it on the gov.deals, so if we don't hit that number that we want, we don't have to sell it either. We can, we can put the bid on longer and try to raise that so that we get that $5,000. So that's why I say, the match money for 3 vehicles would be right at $15,000. It would be a little more than $15,000, but we were hoping to have from the sale of vehicles $15,000 to put towards the match money, which would leave the $4,200 if we got 3 vehicles and we all chose to get 3 replacement vehicles.
I understand the 70,000 request is, been pretty typical of the past. And you guys also make that same request to the county as well. So is the 42 request for the vehicles equal part of a request to the county, or?
So I think moving forward, it will be, we have 2 vehicles that are county vehicles, and then the rest are town vehicles. So I think we would have to look at it each year and determine, is it a replacement vehicle for the town or the county? Because usually those vehicles aren't crossing over.
So the 42 would be the complete amount needed for the vehicles for that particular year.
And like I said, if we're awarded that many, sometimes I've asked for 2 or 3 vehicles in one year, and DRPT only awards 1. So, that's just the ifs. And even if we're awarded all 3, we don't necessarily have to take all 3. They don't put the order in until after we tell them that we're going to move forward with taking what we've been awarded.
And is the 4,200 per van, or is that total?
That would be the total for 3 vehicles.
Okay. So is that a total ask of 74,200?
And yes, if we put in for 3 replacement vehicles and that, yes, that's what it would be. I just wanted to break it out different this year, just so that you all would have an understanding
Fair enough.
of that, because like I said, in the past, replacement vehicles has never been included in that local match money. And then again, if we get any extra funding, that always goes towards the match money. In the spring or the summer, I'll be planning my annual golf tournament again. That'll be at Draper, and then that's also put towards the match money. And like we just talked about, Pulaski County still does a certain level of funding. And then, other than that, I really don't have anything else tonight. I will extend my invitation that anytime if you want to meet one-on-one or have a meeting with Darlene and myself and Tina, our executive director, I leave that open for any time. anytime you have problems or concerns, I would ask that you call and let me know so that we can resolve issues. And I just look forward to continuing working with each of you and the town residents and just to try to help transit grow more.
All right. Thank you, Monica.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.
You too. Okay, we'll move on now to the Agency on Aging from Tina King.
Some packets of information here, maybe. Do I advance my slides, or do I just tell you when I need them advanced? Do you have? Okay, thanks. So, thanks so much, Honorable Mayor Collins and Town Council members, for the opportunity to talk with you and maybe reacquaint or acquaint you with the Volunteer Pulaski Program. The Volunteer Pulaski Program has been making a difference in the town and the county of Pulaski since 2016. It is a program that involves the town of Pulaski, the county of Pulaski, and the Agency on Aging. We came together, would you advance the slide, please? Came together in 2015, the origin of it, I should say, started in 2015 when, at the time, the town and the county were working with our agency to provide a Pulaski RSVP program. RCP means Retired and Senior Volunteer Program. That was a national grant funded, federally funded program that required local match, both in kind and cash, which the county gave cash at the time, and mostly the town gave in-kind match for space and things like that. Our agency gave the oversight and the supervision, plus quite a bit of cash at the time. We couldn't sustain it. It wasn't meeting the local needs. We had to look at what the objectives were at the national level, and the criteria became so cumbersome that the three entities, we got together and decided that, yes, there was a need to have a program that spoke to the community in terms of providing volunteer opportunities primarily for older adults, age 50 plus, and also providing programs that were operated through volunteer efforts where recipients in our community would benefit from that. We came together, we talked about that. It was approved through my board. We had meetings with the town and county powers that were in place at the time, and an agreement was made, albeit we don't have a contract, just as we don't have a contract with the funding that we receive from you all for all of our other programs. It was just that we gave you information each year about what we were doing with the program, who was benefiting, and asking for that funding for that year. The purpose, as I've already mentioned, it primarily at the time, and still is, looking at residents age 50 plus, providing volunteer opportunities, providing them with projects that they're interested in and that they have the abilities for within the community, and reaching out to residents that are needy, primarily our older adults in the community, to be recipients on the other end of the program. To help assist town and county organizations find volunteers, and to help older adults and, as I said, others get their needs met. In your packet, there is a plethora of information that expands on each one of these things. It gives you more about the purpose, gives you more about the goals. And this packet of information I provided to Ms. Burcham back in early August, I believe. It's the very same information. So who does benefit and who participates? Really, everyone, whether they're the volunteer or they're recipient of the volunteer efforts, is benefiting. I'm sure you all know that volunteers not only add to the community, enrich it, they also help themselves mentally and physically by volunteering. There's multiple studies on that. Older adults in the town and the county benefit. Students in the town and the county benefit. We've involved a lot of students in a lot of our volunteer programs. And then the community at large. Under the community organizations, we've gotten law enforcement involved for a couple of different reasons. We feel like it builds community, it builds trust, it helps our older adults feel more connected and safe. So just this past Thursday, the town police worked with us to provide, I think, 3, maybe 4 individuals to deliver a supplies for seniors bag, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute, out to 45, I believe it was 45 out of 90 town and county residents. It was split in half. They provided the delivery to the town residents for that Supplies for Seniors project. We have community-based organizations in Pulaski, up to 12 or more, and they're kind of named, they should be named in your packet, that have been involved in working with our project. We work with the ACES program to, in fact, I think we had 2 students in the ACES program help with the 9 volunteers who helped with the packing with the senior Supplies for Seniors last week. We have school groups in Pulaski, and we'll talk a little bit more about what they've done, and churches in Pulaski that have been involved. Okay, next slide, please. So what are we doing right now? What are some of our ongoing projects? I mentioned the Supplies for Seniors. Supplies for Seniors primarily, except for that coordination piece and some of the oversight, is volunteer driven. The supplies are basic supplies for household goods and for personal care supplies that we all kind of take for granted when we go to the grocery store. We serve a base of individuals who struggle very often with getting those supplies. We get donations for purchasing those supplies, and we do buy from local vendors in the town of Pulaski to purchase those and to cover the cost of that. And then we use volunteers to pack those and volunteers to deliver those. That's ongoing. We do that at least a couple of times a year in the town and county. We have a client check-in service where we have volunteers that call or shut in or socially isolated older adults that benefit from that program. We have Fido's Pantry. As you might know, older adults that are alone really need their pets, and they are going to feed their pets if they don't do anything else. So we found that we needed to get volunteers involved in collecting food and helping it, get it out to those in need. We've worked with the pet donation program through Food City to tie into that and utilize volunteers to get food out to older adults' pets in the community. We have a Staples for Seniors program that's much like the Micah's Backpack, which is a children's backpack, shelf-stable meals that they get to take them home for the weekend so that, you know, it fills in the gap when they're not at school and they don't have that meal. We provide Staples products, tuna, peanut butter, things like that, for older adults that are not just in our program already for the weekend and as needed, but we get calls. We got one yesterday from Pulaski Department of Social Services wanting to know, do we have some of those Staples for Seniors that we buy with donated money for the most part, and we pack with volunteer efforts and sometimes deliver them by volunteers. Like yesterday, that wasn't possible. There was just that immediate need, and we got it out there. And then last, just on this particular slide, we are so fortunate that we are able to get fresh vegetables every week from Red Sun Farms, and we have volunteers that come together, put those vegetables, bag them up, and we get them out to, right now, in the town of Pulaski on the heavy weeks, and that's about every other week, we have 65 to 70 individuals that get those fresh produce, bags of produce. On the lighter weeks, it's 45 to 50. So these are programs that we do in addition to our mandated programs that we use all of our state and local, our state, federal, and local match dollars to provide. These are aside from that. From surveys that we've done, we found that these are needs in the community, and that's when we've chosen a lot of these volunteer projects. What are some of our other projects, if you don't mind? We do Santa for a Senior. The organizations and individuals that adopt a senior vary the numbers every year. We're starting to work on that now. There's some information in your packet on that. Those who benefit from that vary, but at any given time in the town of Pulaski over the years, that would go from 25 to probably 50 individuals that we have determined that would probably go without being recognized or giving a gift at Christmas. We have letters and cards that go out through our school children, out to our older adults. It's a wonderful project. What they do is they benefit from writing the letters, obviously, and they learn about empathy for others. So that's a project that probably about, there again, 50 town residents benefit from, as we've had PES, Pulaski Elementary School, and the middle school working with us on that. And then at times we have various holiday-related gift baskets and programs from volunteers, to our older adults. Next slide, please. We are going to continue with some of the efforts that we already have started and have been doing, but since the pandemic seems to be fading a little bit, we're going to ramp up our recruiting efforts with volunteers in the town and county. We're going to be matching, continuing to match, but hopefully as we expand on some projects, matching up volunteers in the town and county to benefit people of all ages. We're going to be continuing to coordinate volunteer projects that are involving our older adults in the town and county. We're going to be doing more public outreach as public events are starting to ramp up. We did those before COVID. We were out at the farmers market, out at different places within the community to help people understand where they could actually put some volunteer time in and benefit their community and others in the community. And then last but not least, we found during the pandemic there was more of a need than ever to help those who are shut in, who don't have transportation and can't get out with shopping, getting food, getting some errands done. We did that as a staff and could not keep that sustained during the pandemic, but we didn't want to use volunteers because of the safety issues. But we are starting to develop a small core because we have to do criminal background checks and many other things to get a core of volunteers involved with that project. So, next slide. Regarding the funding for Volunteer Pulaski, as I mentioned, it was started with some funds that we received in late 2015 to ramp up the program, hire a coordinator, and pay for some program expenses starting in 2016. The town allocated $8,391 per year from 2015 through 2021. And you have in your packet from our financial program what you all allocated through those years, and that was added to, at the time, approximately $18,000 from the county to cover the coordinator position and the program expenses. We did submit a request to the town for fiscal year 21-22, and you all understand our years is federal, and yours is like July through June, right? So there's always a delay of when we ask for the funds that you all appropriate, just because of the way our cycle runs. So we did, based on the instructions that we got from the finance director at the time, submit information and request for the funds for that period. And as we did in FY 22-23, we followed the instructions that were given for that. But when we ask about the funds for FY 21-22, I'm not clear, and maybe Ms. Bertram, she could probably shed some light on this maybe, but I'm not really clear if council was given it to consider for that period or not. So I'm not sure about that. I do think you were for this past year, or this year we're going into, for us, just started into. But we were told that that wasn't funded either because there was no knowledge of the program and there was no contract in place. Had we known that there were questions or concerns or a need for a contract, would have very gladly done that, because we put our heart and soul into this program, and we have people in this area who have benefited greatly, both on both sides, from being a volunteer and being a recipient of the volunteer program. So we really respectfully implore that you revisit this, rethink it, and consider reinstating it, because it's very vital, not only to those that are in need, it also builds community involvement and trust and relationships, such as the police department going out and doing things, our organizations going out. It builds a network of care in our community. If there's a need to have a written contract, if there are goals or objectives that this town, the council, or the administration wants to look at, that we refocus in another direction that might be more beneficial, we're willing to do that. We just didn't know that that might be something you would want to do. So, last slide. Contact information, currently, we are still at University Park Drive in Fairlawn, but we are going to be your neighbors soon. We're moving back to the town. We're going to be moving to the building beside the library. I think it was the old school board building. So I anticipate we will have even more folks who will want to participate with us as we get back into the town. But also, please visit the Facebook page. We have postings on there from different projects that we've done. Please like it so that you can continue following it and see some of the great things that we're doing as they happen. Are there any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, with that, we move to the public comment period, and I have a couple here. First one that I have is a Tara. Yeah, that. If you would come up to the podium and say, tell us your name and your address, please.
Sure. My name is Tara Wichnick. I live in 921 Washington Square Drive in Pulaski. Thank you for having me today. If I may, Pulaski Area Transit is so vital to our community. Not only for those of us that depend on this service, but for those, who provide it. For some of us, including myself, the transit is our only means of transportation. I encourage each one of you to place yourselves in our shoes as to see the transit's importance, and why grant money is necessary to help the Pulaski Area Transit run efficiently. I come here today speaking on behalf of the parent with no car. I come here today speaking on behalf of the veteran with no way to the grocery store. And I come here today on behalf of the amazing sweet drivers and dispatch that run Pulaski Area Transit. They're awesome. They deserve a raise. And I stand here hoping you guys can find it in you to allocate grant money for the transit as well. And that's all. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Tara.
Yes.
Thank you. All right. I forgot to say that you have 3 minutes. You still had more time, but okay. The next one. Next one is Gianna Harris.
I want to thank you for letting me speak tonight. Members of the council, Mayor, Ms. Burcham, Mr. Rigas. I have ridden the transit ever since it started, the regular transit. Unfortunately, health-wise, it didn't work out. I rode it for quite a while. I am a cancer survivor, 4th time this year. I cannot do steps. I'm in the walker. Eventually, it will be a wheelchair. I cannot thank God enough every day and every one of you that provides the ADA transit. It has a lift. It is vital to my health and to my life. I am very independent. I pay all my bills. I go to the grocery store. I do my own cooking. I do as much as I possibly can, but not always in the community. If you've ever been a cancer person, you know no day, 2 days are alike. Some days are good. Some days I would not want anyone to go through what I've had to go through. Like I say, I will eventually be wheelchair bound. It won't hurt me and it won't affect me. In fact, I can whiz through the grocery stores now. I can pass all of you and say bye. I strongly ask that you keep the ADA and the transit going. It is my lifeline. Without it, I would be in a 4-room apartment, 4 walls in an apartment, and I would not be living very long. All of my doctors advocate I have to live somewhere where I have a transit, where I can be as independent as possible. And we're going to beat this the 4th time with your help and with the transit. Thank you.
Thank you. And I might add, she used to whiz around, I remember, because I knew her from the station. Known her for a while. Next I've got is Lydia Hickman. If you'd like to I hick. Yeah, why did I say hick? It's hickin'.
Well, good evening to all of you. I am Pulaski's representative of the town for Agency on Aging. And I just wanted to come and give the support for the transit. Because as you all know, being on the council, we are a community of very old people. Some of us older than others, but that's the way it goes. And so in our lifespan, we need a transit system. Now, when I was younger, I don't do that so much now, but when I was younger and my mother and I were out, we would go through the town and we would see people who were walking, and this is before the transit system was in effect. And I would pick these people up and take them wherever they needed to go. And sometimes it was quite a ways that I was going to take them home. But when I saw people trudging from a grocery store with bags of groceries, I just felt compelled that I had to do something. So I was my own transit system in those days. And I just want to say, please put it in your heart and put it in your mind. And even though it costs a little bit more than you really want to spend, that is money well spent. And I know exactly what you mean when you're saying that you see those buses go by with empty seats. Because I watch the buses go by with empty seats, and I worry about that too. But I'll be glad to ride those buses and list down everybody who's there and how many trips they're taking, if that's going to make you feel better about the bus and the transit system. I'll be happy to do that. But I just wanted to come forth and lend my support for keeping the transit system going.
All right. And next I have, I think it's Claudia Harrison.
Hi. This is my first time here, so I'm kind of nervous, but I'm actually here with Wanda. Me and her have, I know some of you have seen it on Facebook, where we are actually volunteering to help clean up Doris Cemetery. It's the forgotten, abandoned cemetery that's been here since the 1900s. The people that are buried there have died from the Spanish flu. They are the original people in this town that worked in the 30s at the furnace, at the acid plant, and all of that. We're the only two people that's been showing up. There's been a couple others that's volunteered. They have other things. They can't always be there. We desperately need help. The place is a mess. We only have hand tools. A couple trash cans were donated. There's trees that need to be cut down. I don't know who in this town can help us get these trees. There's trees that you can give away for free firewood. The place is just, it's a mess. And, you know, we've done a pretty decent job. Wanda's there more than I am. I have a full-time job. But I do show up and help and do what I can. But I have ancestors there. She has ancestors there. And if you dig deep, you probably have ancestors there too. There's veterans there. These graves, they need to be taken care of. We need help. And I know that it's not one of those anybody's going to give money for, but we're asking for anybody that can have any knowledge of anything, of any volunteer people that can actually come out and help us do anything. I mean, if you just come and do one grave, if you come and cut a tree down, if you come and help us haul the trash and stuff that we're pulling out of there, Wanda's doing it by herself because she has a truck. I mean, we've got branches, it's a mess, and we're just asking for any knowledge or any help or any person or volunteer group that can actually come out and help us, because it literally is a cemetery that it doesn't belong to anyone. It's on the books. It doesn't belong to anyone. Nobody's responsible for it. Nobody's doing anything about it. I found out about it just because I do my ancestry and know my ancestors are there. So just if anybody has any knowledge of something that can help us out, it would be great.
Where did you say it was?
It's off of Doris Cemetery. It's actually called Bridge Street. If you go up Dora, Old Jim Steakhouse, Bridge Street, it's at the top of the hill where that water runs down all the time. So, because we were up there working in the people are always flying up down the street to go turn that water off or whatever that water is, but it's literally abandoned. And I mean, we've been weed eating, raking, pulling weeds, cleaning stuff, and doing everything we can. So, but we just don't, we're like at a stuck point that we just need help.
Thank you.
And then I have Wanda Simpkins, the same thing.
Hello, thanks for having me. I spoke with Mayor Collins last week and I told him about the Dora Cemetery. It was started back, Dora Furnace came to Pulaski about 1890. They donated this parcel of land for a burial ground for their employees, which I think that is amazing. You look, what industries now would do something like that? This is history at its finest. I mean, every time we go out there, we uncover more graves, and then we start looking at the history of these people and the effect that they had on the town. And I think it's sad that the cemetery has been abandoned, because we've looked back, and the last time it was really cleaned up was in 1966. We found the Southwest Times article, and it told how that they spent 2 months cleaning it up. It was the Dora Highway Baptist Church, Boy Scout troops, a community effort. We would like to get the cemetery back to the way that it should be. And each time that I'm out there, it's amazing that the people come from far off places. I've had one lady, she came up there and she was from Maine. She said she had been, her and her sister had, during the pandemic, went on Ancestry, and they were doing their family history, and they came across the cemetery. And then last week, I had a couple come up, and they were from North Carolina. And they wanted to do something, and I said, they was going to throw a fit. I said, well, you can throw a fit all you want, because we're working on it. We're doing the best we can. So we came to the point now where that we're working down the hill where that the trees are at and the brush. That's the big problem. Taking the brush out, and when we start cutting the trees down, well, where are we going to put them? And Mayor Collins, he suggested, bringing like a wood chipper truck, some type of machinery like that, or, somebody to come in and haul the brush off. Because I've been trying to haul it to Dublin, and it's not been going well. I mean, you can only do so much. But, hopefully over the winter we can get more people involved, because I've had a lot of interest here lately with the folks at the Newbern Museum, New River Valley Historical Society, different things like that, because this cemetery could be a historical landmark if it was cleaned up and, taken care of. But I thank you for listening.
Thank you. Thank you. She had talked to me, and I thought it would be good for you to know, because I had no idea that the cemetery was even there. So I don't know. I know it's not one that the town owns or takes care of. So, but maybe Tina can help them. She's got volunteers. Yeah. And Boy Scout troops too, if we could get them involved too, and make it a community event.
But it's amazing how nobody knew the cemetery was even there.
Yeah.
I've had town employees sitting there checking on the water tank and everything, and they didn't know it was a cemetery. But I've had a lot of compliments on the work we're doing.
Thank you. Anyway.
Oh, I was just, as far as, I guess it was donated at that time, or I don't know how that, it has.
When the furnace was sold and scrapped in 1936, I don't guess whoever bought all of that knew that there was a cemetery, because it was owned by the furnace. So since 1936, it's like, it's
Been a while.
literally forgotten.
no one owns it. There's nothing on the county's GIS.
That's very interesting. Thank you for bringing that forward. It's, yeah, it's interesting. It's curious. I'm kind of processing. I don't know what the answer there is, but we'll talk to Ms. Burcham, see if there's anything we can do. I will.
We have a Facebook page.
Oh, do you?
Yes.
Okay.
Old one, but we still post our work on it.
A progress report type thing, but it's the door furnace cleanup project.
Okay.
You might also want to reach out to Asplund, the big tree company. They might be willing to do. Now, the bigger issue is that since nobody knows who owns the property, they might be a little leery of that, but they might be willing to do some, hauling and chipping and stuff like that. I bet they have a volunteer outreach, community involvement program. It might be worth giving them a call.
I just thought that maybe them coming forward, some of the community would see also that it is a need there. And hopefully some of them will want to help. But thank you. All right, that's all of the speaker slips that I have tonight. Was there anyone else? I'll give you a chance.
Do you have any stuck together?
Who would it? To have a Michael Son. That's you. There it is. It was stuck. Sorry. I kept looking. I thought, you're bound to be here to speak, but.
Thank y'all for letting me show up tonight and speak a little bit. I have been riding the transit for the better part of the last 13 years. It's gotten me to the store and back. It's gotten me to work. There's no way I could have ever made it to work and back without it. It is a tremendous service, I think. I echo the sentiments and thoughts, from everybody. And there's a need for it. And I know a lot of people depend on it to get to the store, to the doctor, hospital, and various other places. But I know that it's been a great help to me. I walk a lot of places I go. I currently live in Dublin, but I lived in the town for quite a while as well. So it has been a great help, and I hope that it continues to run. The drivers are awesome. The dispatchers, everybody in the whole system. So thank you for letting me speak, and I hope that we continue many years of having the transit around.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Monica, I hope you have a transit out here for all these people that are here for that, to take them home tonight.
I hate to speak again, but I did forget to ask when I should come back next.
You're currently coming once a quarter, right?
We'll probably usually cancel that first meeting in January, don't we?
I think the way the dates fall, that probably will be the case. I haven't looked at a calendar recently. We got a calendar.
That's what they're figuring out. I don't know.
So I was just thinking it might make more sense. The first Tuesday, I think, is the second.
Third and the 17th. 3rd and 17th.
Okay. So do we think we'll have a meeting on the 3rd, or?
That's up to you all. I'd love you not to have one.
I would think not. I mean, I don't think we normally do, and that close after the first.
As far as your question is more in regards to the funding, I think we need to stay on the schedule as far as with the communication level that we've had this year and the frequency of it. But I don't know that is going, isn't necessarily the answer to your question. And so we'll be in.
I would suggest that she plan to come to your second meeting in January to keep us on the quarterly
Right.
issue. And then if there's a need for additional dialogue with the council prior to that, on the request for funding, we could address that differently. But as far as the quarterly meetings, I would say that second.
Stay on the same
January
schedule.
Would be something you ought to plan on. Yes.
All right, with that, we'll move to our resolution 2022-24. Someone wants to make a motion?
Move we approve resolution 2022-44, resolution for line of credit as written.
Second.
And may I have a roll call for that, please?
Mr. Penn?
Yes.
Mr. Dawson?
Aye.
Mr. East?
Aye.
Mr. Ratliff?
Aye.
Mr. Klontz?
Aye.
Mr. Reese?
Aye.
Thank you all for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, with that, we'll move on to the consent agenda. If you all would look at your minutes from the last meeting of October 4th, 2022, and someone make a motion for that, to accept them.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to approve the October 4th, 2022 minutes.
Second.
And may I have a roll call for that, please?
Mr. Penn?
Yes.
Mr. Dawson?
Aye.
Mr. East?
Aye.
Mr. Ratliff?
Aye.
Mr. Klontz?
Aye.
Mr. Reese?
Aye.
Okay, and now we'll move to the council comments. Mr. Penn?
Mr. Mayor, I don't have anything, thank you.
Okay. Mr. Dawson?
I was actually just more of a question than, and maybe in your comments already, Ms. Burcham, but have we gotten much feedback on the bike park since it's opening, or had any comments, complaints?
Yes.
Compliments?
I can make some comments on it.
You know, everything we do, we get compliments and we get complaints on.
Mhm.
I would say that the compliments at this point outnumber the complaints, but we seem to be in a period in society where complaining is easier than complimenting. But certainly
I think that was
those-
always easier.
Those who have used the facility have been very impressed, have felt like it is available to skill levels of all ages. And the one thing that's missing, and it's on order, are some seating arrangements for those that are spectators. We probably will move some picnic tables, because we're going to be replacing some for now until the actual benches come in. That's really been the only, what I would call substantial complaint, is that there's not enough room for spectators. And there are a lot of spectators that are driving by and standing by, looking at what's going on. So I think it's been a tremendous success.
I know the other evening when I was coming back into town, there were a couple folks that must have been making use of the bike park, but they were riding their bikes back up 99, coming back into town that way. They weren't doing that necessarily in the safest way they possibly could be, and one on one side of the road and one on the other side of the road. And certainly, it's going to, draw probably more traffic. It's a good thing. That's not a bad problem, but I don't know in the future if, we have the bike trail there that takes you into town, but I don't know if in the next striping moment or paving moment, if we don't need to consider, a bike lane, for, possibly, coming, you got so much trail activity that's, you have sidewalks once you get actually up to the bridge, really, almost. I think it's, may not be sidewalk from that point, but if that property there is redeveloped, you got really maybe an opportunity that bike lanes could be necessary going in.
We also have on order a kiosk that will have maps that will show people other opportunities to use their bicycles on the trail, and actually onto the trail that is near the state park, that continues on to Mr. Bain's property, and eventually will go hopefully, to Randolph Park. I think that's the long-term goal. But everything is backlogged as you try to purchase materials and items, but all of those things are in the works. And after we slow down the traffic, and that is happening a little bit at a time, I think the idea of bike lanes, not just there, but in other parts of the town, will be something that we ought to look at. The more we can get people outdoors, the healthier I think they will be. And we also are looking at putting in some additional sidewalks in areas to get people out of the streets. Because we are finding that there are increasing numbers of people that are walking, sometimes just for the exercise, others because of it being an essential need. But we need to keep them out of the streets as well. So there are a lot of things that we can work on.
Is the parking area itself seeming like it's working?
Oh, yes.
I saw them putting up those yellow gates today.
Yeah, the gates are up. So it actually, as of today, the gates are up so we can close it off at night. And there's a sign that I think they were going to erect today that actually warned people in advance coming into town where the parking was located. So as they're coming down that hill, they know to start slowing down because of the turn to the left to get into the parking.
I saw if somebody was actually had one of those humongous remote control trucks, and they were that was their fun house was driving that thing all over the place. I'm not sure that was what it was intended for, but they looked like they were enjoying it.
It was really you, wasn't it?
So the only other thing I had is we never really, I guess, openly said or finalized openly saying. So I wanted to go ahead and make a motion in support of the request from Calfee School for matching money of $100,000 towards a grant that they requested of us at our last meeting. Motion for us to approve our willingness to support the $100,000 worth of funding in contingent with their ability to secure the additional $100,000 worth of funding needed to complete that grant.
Second.
And may I have a roll call for that, please?
Mr. Penn?
Yes.
Mr. Dawson?
Aye.
Mr. East?
Aye.
Mr. Ratliff?
Aye.
Mr. Klontz?
Aye.
Mr. Reese?
Abstain.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Mr. East?
No, sir, Mr. Mayor.
I know.
He needs my time.
I know, right?
When we gonna cut the
Mr.
Christmas
Ratcliffe.
lights on? That's all I need to know. When's the Christmas lights coming on? Thanksgiving night?
That's before Thanksgiving, yes, sir.
We have a
Have to get
test
through
run?
Halloween first. Can we get through Halloween?
Well, let's get through Halloween.
Yeah, let's get through Halloween first.
Let's get through Halloween. But all joking aside, thank y'all, and I want to thank the council for supporting CCCC. It's a very dear project as we go forward. We really need that. So sincerely thank everyone up here for it.
Mr. Klontz?
Nothing this evening.
Mr. Reese?
I did want to talk about the bike park because I have now been out there twice. Once before it opened, but that's because my daughter made me. She saw other people riding out there, so sorry about that. But you tried convincing a 6-year-old that she can't do something when other people are. She has fallen twice, but she still wants to go back. But it is really, really great. Both my kids were able to do at least some of the stuff, if not everything. Definitely not the jumps. There were some little kids out there doing jumps, so that was pretty cool. Little made me feel very old and not very athletic, but it was fun. But I did want to say two things. I talked to a guy out there from Blacksburg. He confirmed that not only was this a bike park fantastic, but it's much better than Blacksburg's, which is very small and it doesn't have nearly as much. And I asked him, well, where are you from? He said he's up from Blacksburg. And I said, well, how'd you hear about it? He said, I talked to a guy from Roanoke. I was like, well, that's cool. He's like, yeah, he heard about it from like the Richmond Mountain Bike listserv or Facebook group or something. So I just, I don't know how much he asked me how much we spent on it, and I actually had to admit that I didn't really remember how much. But it's a good example of how, targeted investments like this can really put us on the map. This was, not something that maybe we all really thought about, 2 years ago when I got on council, and I certainly didn't think that this was something that was going to happen. But it's amazing that we've gotten these funds from ARPA and have been able to do all the really amazing things that we've done. Because he even mentioned, I'm going to go down to the skateboard park. Where's that? And it's just, I talked about the other trails, and it's just to say that, everybody at the town has done a fantastic job getting these things. And I know that we're hopefully getting those playgrounds in the next has it started yet, or?
No, it's been delayed another week.
Okay.
But we're still expecting before the end of this month to start putting those in one at a time.
And and just to say, that was like, when I told people I wanted to get on council, the first thing I said is I want to do something about those playgrounds. And to be able to say that we've done that is just fantastic, because those are, I know they get used a ton. It's one of those things that, like, with a bike park, it shows our community what our priorities are, and that, that we're prioritizing the people who are here in our community, and also trying to make a handout to other places to get people to come here. And I just thought, and it's not just people from Pulaski County, it's people from the New River Valley and further away. And, if those people come in and buy gas and, get a meal, that's just, that's icing on the cake as far as I'm concerned. But having something like this is it's just really great. I'm very excited about it. And, just wanted to say thanks to everybody who was involved, because I know there's a lot of hard work and throughout this pandemic, we've done a lot. And it's been just a real testament to our staff, how hard they've worked with all the difficulties of getting stuff in and getting stuff designed, and just doing the business of the town is just really wonderful. So thanks.
You think watching them makes you feel old. Get on one of them. And then let them do an interview as soon as you finish and you're out of breath. That was, Ms. Darlene, don't get mad at me, but I've had lots of complaints about the new speed limit. And I might add that I do agree on what I know that it says, that the speed is across the town. It's townwide, unless otherwise posted. Sorry, I had to do it, but because there was the chant that went with it. So
Jackie Reed taught you that.
she did, and it was because of Bill. Actually, Bill started it. So so Jackie should be happy. I hope she saw that. But anyway, so I was thinking, when you go out past the hospital, it used to go back to 55. There's nothing else between there and the red light, which then becomes 55. If we went to 45 through there, I don't see the big problem there, and it would be otherwise posted. But just a thought.
So between the hospital and
It's
the
past the
elementary
hospital,
school?
yeah.
That stretch?
That stretch, because it is very slow when you're driving, and I agree, I concur on that, but I know that if you leave a little earlier, you don't need, you can get there still and get there safely. But I get to hear everyone because I'm in the public, and that's fine. That's what I took this job for, and I appreciate it, and I don't mind them coming here. That's why I'm there. So just wanted to throw that out. With that, that's all I really have, I think, other than I hope that the parks do start getting fixed up really soon. So I know it's supposed to be within the next week or so, but now it's
Ms. Bertram didn't change that speed. We did.
I know. I know.
Duly noted.
I know. But I hope you consider too, because I didn't go out and test drive it either before. But, okay, so we'll move on to the manager's report.
Well, let me just, because it was on my list, just share with you a couple of things about the mountain bike park opening. The most interesting comment of which was a gentleman sending me a request for the Google coordinates for the park, because he was traveling over 2 hours to come to our park on its opening day.
Oh, yeah.
And we had 3 gentlemen who were in cars parked by the skate park before we opened with out-of-state tags that were looking at the park and admiring it, and told one of the staff that they had never seen anything with such a big array of different ramps. And what I've been told, and you couldn't get me out there if you paid me, except to watch as a spectator, but what I've been told is that the ramps that we have there are in fact some of the very best that you could have. Now, what you all need to remember, and what the community needs to understand, is that we got the American Recovery Act money, ARPA money, with specific goals and specific uses, one of which was to get people outdoors. And so we've invested quite a bit of money, ARPA money, not, it's your money because you pay federal taxes, as do I, but money that was given to communities to address getting people outdoors, which is the healthiest place that you can be with this COVID that seems to keep coming back in one form or another. And so we looked at opportunities to get people outdoors. The ARPA money also was targeted to bring people into communities, and tourism was specifically identified in the hundreds and hundreds of pages of regulations that we had to abide by. And so our hope with some of these, not all of them, some of these amenities in the outdoors is that we not only serve the residents of our town, but we bring people here to see us for the first time. And when this kiosk is opened, and it's on order too, we will have not only maps of other trails, but places to eat, other opportunities to visit, such as the Radcliffe Museum or the ballpark, to bring people into our town. That's the same theory behind the electric chargers that I've also had people, criticize as well as welcome. Unfortunately, electric cars are at the present time the wave of the future. And what we as a community have to do is get ready for that future. And if there's an opportunity to bring somebody into this town to recharge their vehicle and they see Pulaski for the first time, we may have a future business, a future visitor, or even a future resident. So all of these things have a strategy behind them. They're not always well understood by the general public, who doesn't have to read all those regulations or have to think about what will accomplish the goals that they have. But each and everything that we have done thus far, and as I said to you all in another meeting, the behavior of our young people at the skate park is phenomenal. It really is. I mean, people are treating and respecting these improvements in a way that hasn't always been the case here in this town. So we really are very, very blessed. And I was going to tell you, unfortunately, with the delays and with some staff shortages that the installers have had, it's going to be the end of the month before we install the first of 4 new playgrounds. Each of our playgrounds will have new equipment. Some of them, 2 of them will actually retain a couple of pieces, and then the rest will be pulled out, and then we'll have all new in the others. And I wish that would have happened earlier, but I'm going to instead now wish that the weather stays warmer for longer so that everybody can enjoy that. We had a delay on the pickleball courts, so it's going to be spring now before those are put in place. But that's also another activity that we hope is going to encourage people to go to the outside and be in the outside. We had, I thought, a great turnout, lots of publicity about the mountain bike park. I held my breath when the mayor decided he was going to be the first to go down the ramps. And I
survived too.
Yes, it has survived. And I've seen people ask about, is the town going to be liable? Well, let me say, people who use that, including the mayor, are at their own risk. That's not an issue for the town. Mr. Ratcliffe is asking about Christmas already, and as I said, I want to get through Halloween before we even think about Thanksgiving. There is a trick-or-treat trail this year that's being sponsored by Pulaski on Main. Town Hall will be on that list, and we're having a number of businesses that aren't necessarily on the major route, which is West Main all the way down East Main to the what I call the split. And we are encouraging those other businesses to come set up in Jackson Park and actually be available to give out candy as well. And we're hoping that that will be well received. I had a wonderful opportunity yesterday and then today to first of all meet the 3 individuals who are doing the reaccreditation evaluation of our police department. They were supposed to be here for 3 days. They ended up doing it in 2 days because what they found was so positive about our police department. And so we're hoping at the meeting in December that they will officially receive the reaccreditation for another 4 years. But you heard earlier in the comments that some of our officers, that actually was Hudson and Jill and Lieutenant Saul, delivered those baskets to the seniors as another activity. And even with all of the complaints about speeding, there are people that are very positive about our police response. We got complaints that some of the cars didn't have people in them. Well, that was deliberate. But on the other hand, had we had people in the cars, they'd have had to give tickets. So, I mean, you can't have it all. We did put up additional flaggings that seem to be getting people to realize that they need to slow down. We saw on Facebook a compliment where a police officer evidently saw someone speeding on the other lane and flashed their blue lights as a warning. We will eventually, and we will advise people when that's going to happen, start issuing tickets. But right now, they are issuing warnings, and we'll probably go to warning tickets. Our goal is not to make money off of this. Our goal is to have our people safe and drive safely. And Mr. Mayor, I've heard your comment from others, but I think we need to give time for people to get used to the 35 miles per hour. And I think once they get used to it, they will see its value. And I believe we will have fewer accidents in our town. And I think our town will be better received by the public. But we have to kind of bear with this initial reaction that everybody has to change. I will tell you that some people are now saying that the 4-way stop they like at Randolph and Washington because they've gotten used to it. And so just everyone be patient for just a little bit longer and let us see if this doesn't, in the long run, serve our community well.
I have had compliments too, though, because before the hospital to turn into Medallion, and people that live out there, they said, this helps a lot because it is slower for them. So they did like that. I've had both.
It's a mixed bag,
It
and it
is.
will be for a while, and I just ask you all to bear with it. Some of the stuff that has been on Facebook is just unbelievable, you know, in terms of what people are saying, and you just have to kind of choke on it a little bit and say, this too shall pass.
Yeah.
I did have an idea yesterday that I ran by the Public Works director or engineer this morning, and he liked it instantly. So, I mean, it's right. And so I want to announce that as of tomorrow and through next Monday, which is the 24th of October, any individual in the town may identify or adopt a pothole in our town. The little young lady that sings or otherwise posted has dubbed this the fall fill-in because at the end of October the 24th, we will then start on the 25th, fill all the potholes in the town that have been identified. In order to have your favorite pothole filled, you have to either respond on the town's website, no other place, and the town Facebook page, no other Facebook page but the town's, and our newest employee in the engineering division, who you all have yet to meet, Scott Ost, who came to us just earlier from one of the Virginia Tech organizations. He has agreed to take all of the calls of people calling in or sending emails so that we can get a proper list. And if any of you have your favorite pothole, you can tell Olivia before you leave tonight, and we'll put yours on the list as well.
Are there requirements to the size of the pothole?
No. But if we're going to do it, we need to do it before the asphalt plant closed down, which is roughly the middle of November. So we get all of the potholes that people are complaining about filled, so we're ready for the winter months.
Even though it's dangerous, do you want the council to take a selfie with their pothole?
They could, yes, if we could post it on our Facebook page.
Members of council.
Yeah, because I have one in mind that I'm going to go do tonight.
And then in return for this, I asked the council members if you would like to carve a pumpkin on the 29th of October at 2 p.m. at Randolph Park. Because this is evidently an event that was held pre-COVID. And I've already been told this afternoon that a couple of members of the Board of Supervisors are going to do pumpkin carving and some folks from Dublin. So we need to have the town represented.
I think the town manager of Dublin actually did it one year. Mm-hmm.
I think he's doing it this year too. But
Well,
they
maybe it's a
provide the
mayoral
pump-
thing.
Jonathan won, as I recall.
Well, we can't let that happen.
Hold some strings.
So which one of you is going to take on the challenge? Although several of you can.
Oh, not me.
I'll go.
I know
We
someone
nominate
who
the
could.
mayor.
I'll go.
You go.
Well, I would
Yeah.
think
All right.
the mayor and he should take Blake.
That's what I was going to say. Can I have someone do it for us? Because I have someone that can do it.
Yeah.
Well, you have to, you have
Got to
to
do it
bring-
on site.
You have to bring your own carving tools, but.
Oh, he's got
pumpkins
those.
are
Oh, you do it?
Oh, yeah, I got those. I'm good.
So
Blake has those too.
I think it's
I'm terrible.
time
I work
for
too.
the town to win such a competition.
So it wouldn't matter.
And I'm looking to you gentlemen to make that happen. If I can fill potholes, you all can carve pumpkins, right?
You're physically filling the pot?
We should have known there was a catch.
Oh, yeah, we want to see selfies with you out there filling the potholes.
I could do that.
Okay,
You
cool.
can hold the tamper like the last.
That's it, Mr. Rick.
Okay. All right. With that, it's just the reminder of our future council meeting. Be November 1st, 2022. Closed session begins at 6. Public session begins at 7. And as I have nothing else on the agenda, I call this meeting adjourned.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Mayor.